Greetings everyone, and welcome to another edition of Q&A Social Security Disability Benefits Today. I am your host, Anthony Reeves, attorney at law, and it's a pleasure to have you here. For those of you who have the questions coming, keep them coming. Don't be shy. You can always leave me questions here. Feel free to subscribe to my blog, just so you can find up what's up to date on my blog as well at legalbeat.anthonyreeves.com. I tend to put different topics on my blog than I do in terms of here, because here I focus more on answering questions. There, I focus more on providing insight about issues that I run across just in my daily practicing, working with different clients. So definitely hit me up there. Also, if you want to ask me a question, you can always visit me at www.reevesfirm.com. Also, if you have Facebook, of course, facebook.com/Reeves Law Firm. Plenty of ways to reach out to me, but let's go ahead and jump on to the discussion today. Got two questions that were posed to me. The first one has to deal with your heart condition. Someone asked the question, I haven't seen a video about heart disease and Social Security. Can you please do a segment about this? Okay. Let me make one thing abundantly clear. You can receive disability benefits for almost any medical condition. Let's just get that right out there. The question should never be, can you get disability benefits based on a medical condition? The question really needs to be is, how severe is my medical condition, and is it severe enough for me to be entitled to disability benefits? Okay? So if somebody comes into me and they ask me the question, this is the best way to deal with it in terms of answering this question. If you come to me and you say, I have a heart condition, and I'm wondering, is my heart condition of such a level that may entitle me to disability benefits? Okay? I'm going to ask you about 6 different questions. First of all, I'm going to ask the first question. Has your condition lasted for 12 months or more? Well, most people will be like, why is that relevant? Because for purposes of Social Security, they deem that a medical condition is severe is that if it impacts your work or impacts your ability to perform a substantial gainful activity for 12 months or more. So if this is a recent diagnosis or something that just started bothering you to the point of impacting your ability to do work, it's probably not going to catch Social Security's attention unless it's something that can be expected to last 12 months or more, or has lasted 12 months or more. So that's my first question. Second question I'm going to ask is, what were you diagnosed with? Sometimes when people come to me and they say, oh, I got a heart disease, and my first thought is, well, what have you been diagnosed with? They look at me like I'm crazy. What do you mean by that? I say, well, there's a lot of different heart conditions. If you come to me and you say, I have chest pains, well, the chest pains does not necessarily have to be heart related. You could be having some muscular pains in your chest. It happens, depending on if you're the kind of person you're doing a lot of lifting and things like that. You could have chest pain, myocardial infarction, which is what we call a heart attack. You can have coronary artery disease. You can have congestive heart failure. So I want to know, have you been diagnosed? And in most instances, if you've been diagnosed, you're more likely been diagnosed by a cardiologist. So I want to know, what have you been diagnosed with? So that's the second thing. Then the third thing I want to know is, what type of medical testing and or procedures have you underwent? Because the more invasive the procedures, the more definitive results I can receive. For instance, if you just had somebody put a stethoscope to your chest, that's not going to make me excited, or probably not making a lot of people excited. But then if you're talking about an EKG, or an echo, or an ultrasound, or a stress test, or a catheterization, if you've had a stent done, if you've had a coronary artery bypass, open heart surgery, as you go into more invasive procedures, that lets you know the severity of your condition. More importantly, how often have you had it? If you've had a couple of stents or a couple of coronary artery bypasses, that's going to let me know that maybe your condition is fairly significant. Then I'm going to go to the next one. Are you taking any medication? People, if you're just taking bare aspirin, that's probably not going to excite a whole lot of people. Maybe some blood thinners, maybe atenolol, something like that. But if you're taking nitroglycerin, that tends to give an indication of a more significant amount of heart condition. So I'm asking the question, how long have you had it? I'm asking you, what have you been diagnosed? What type of medical testing or procedures? Medication. Then I'm going to ask you, what are your symptoms? Are you having chest pain? Are you getting lightheaded? Are you fatigued? Do you get out of breath? Those are the things that I want to know. And more importantly, are these things that you're telling your doctor? Because the reality is, Your representative relies on records from your doctor. So if you're telling your representatives all these problems, but you're not telling your doctor, the two don't typically go together because invariably somebody's going to ask that question. You told your representative, why are you not telling your doctor? And then finally, I want to know, what are your limitations? Your limitations means what is affecting you, meaning how is that your medical condition, your heart condition, affecting your ability to do work and affecting your ability to do your daily activities. So those are the things that I'm going to look at, and then collectively, I'm going to look at all that information, and I'm going to then make a determination of whether or not I believe collectively you're disabled, or at least I have a belief that I can help you get disability based on all of those information that I've just asked for. So that's what you look for purposes of heart disease. If anybody has questions about any other medical condition, I've had a couple of people ask, please feel free, and I'll be more than happy to discuss kind of what I look for, or at least what I look for when I'm determining whether or not this is a case that I can help somebody with. Now, the second question that was posed to me was asking the question, could you please explain the current class action lawsuit, Clark v. Astrue? For those of you who may not be aware, and I'm not an expert on class action, so I'm going to give you a very rough overview. A class action lawsuit typically deals with a variety of people who have basically very similar claims, defenses, and interests. And just joining them together would make it impractical. So what happens is, in some instances, the courts will allow individuals to quote-unquote certify a particular class. Let me give you a background about what Clark v. Astrue stands for. There's a regulation under the Social Security Administration that says that anybody who is held in violation of their probation or parole can have their disability benefits, whether it be old age or survivor's benefits or disability benefits or SSI. If you're getting Social Security benefits at all, and you've been found to have violated your probation or your parole, your benefits can be suspended. Now, the plaintiffs in the Clark v. Astrue case had warrants for their arrest for alleged violations. And what happened is that Social Security used that, in this particular case, used those warrants as evidence to suspend the benefits. Well, of the 5 people, I think 1 passed away, 1 is unresolved, but the other 3, they actually had it was actually determined that they weren't in violation of probation or parole. So they brought suit against the Commissioner of Social Security Administration for basically saying that they improperly suspended their benefits. At the United States District Court level, at the Southern District of New York, the District Court affirmed the decision of the Commissioner, basically saying Social Security got it right. So sad, hate it for you. So then they appealed it, okay, to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, the federal court, the United States Court of Appeals, the Second Circuit. And what that court said is that just because someone has had a warrant for their arrest is not sufficient evidence to find that they violated their probation or parole. And the reason why they said that is because the standard by which you get a warrant is much different than the standard by which Social Security should rely upon, or is going to rely upon, to determine if someone violated their probation or parole. Because the standard to get a warrant is much lower than it is to demonstrate that somebody violated the probation or parole. So what happened was the court said, no, you got it wrong, and they vacated the decision. In other words, they threw it out and they sent it back to the Southern District of New York, the district court case, for further proceedings. Well, as of March 18, 2011, when the case got sent back to the district court, what those plaintiffs did in that case is that they motioned to the court to certify a nationwide class action. Up to this point it wasn't, but they basically said, you know what, if this has happened to us here, it's probably happened to people all over the country, meaning that there's other Social Security offices that probably have applied this thing improperly in the same context. So they basically moved, I don't know the proper terminology, but basically what they did is they asked the court to designate this as a nationwide class action lawsuit. And in March 18, 2011, the Southern District of New York certified a nationwide class. So here's the definition of that class. Let me make sure I get it here for you. And basically what they said is anybody who has been affected from October 29th, 2006 to basically until the entering of this ruling. falls into this class. So let me go ahead and read it exactly. For the reasons set forth above, the court grants plaintiff's motion for class certification and hereby certifies the following class. All persons nationwide whose SSI, supplemental security income, and or old age, survivors, disability benefits that were denied and or suspended based solely on the existence of a warrant, meaning that's the only thing they relied on, for an alleged violation of probation or parole during the period of October 29, 2006 to and including such time in the future when final relief is entered into this action. In other words, if you fall from October 29, 2006 to whenever they render this decision, you are considered a member of this nationwide class. If any of you have questions about who's actually representing in this one, meaning who the attorneys are, please shoot me a message. I'll be more than happy to give you those attorneys' names. They're handling it out of New York. If you believe that you fall into this particular class, you might want to contact your representative, meaning your Social Security representative if you have one, and let them know about the existence of the class action, and also let them know that you may be within this class, and allow them the opportunity to investigate whether or not additional steps can be taken forward. Just kind of keeping that out there, food for thought. Again, I look forward to seeing you again next week. If you have any questions, keep them coming, and as always, have a wonderful day.